My number one fan is here. My dad is here. Is this it? Only my dad? I'll wait a couple more minutes. I have a lot to say, and I don't want to overstep my time. I think I got caught off last week at 37 minutes, so I think we got to make sure that we get in for 30 minutes. So I'll wait for a couple more people to join. Can you hear me? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, well, I can't tell if you can hear me or not. Hopefully you can. Please let me know if you cannot hear me. All right, well, let's begin. We're talking about the high school brain today. And I'm going to start off by discussing how the brain is developing at the high school level. So if you look at the picture above, you'll see a brain of a 15-year-old. So high school is usually the ages between 14 and 18 years old. 14 and 18 years old. So this is a sophomore in high school brain. And as you can see, if you remember what we've been talking about, it's starting to get really blue. Even the area that was fully green in the 13-year-old, you're starting to see blue show up. And if you remember, I told you the green and the yellow and the red represent neurogenesis, meaning the neurons are growing, the gray matter is growing. But when you start to get a infiltration of blue in the brain during an MRI, you're starting to see white matter starting to take over, and actually a loss of gray matter. So what's happening is you're losing gray matter. You're starting to get a lot more white matter, meaning there's a lot more connections. And even with the connections, it's just not connections everywhere. They're starting to focus their connections on special places. Okay, so they're starting to get rid of neurons, excessive amounts of neurons in their connections, and starting to focus less neurons in more specific places. We call this cortical thinning. All right, so imagine the area that's right here. We call this the frontal lobe or the prefrontal cortex. That in that picture still has a lot of green in it, right? But there's some blue showing up. And that's showing that the frontal lobe is starting to talk to special places in the brain. All right, the frontal lobe is starting to take reins over the emotional centers of the brain, specifically the amygdala. I talked about the amygdala a while ago back when I was talking about little kids and how they have low developed amygdalas, meaning that they're not afraid as easy. And so the amygdala is starting to develop in the adolescent brain, but the frontal lobe has not taken control over it. All right, so you'll start to see certain behaviors because of that. Not only is it talking to the amygdala, it's talking to the hippocampus. The brain is communicating with these areas for memory. So memorization starts to increase. Okay, so you're starting to see higher levels of memory. If you think about it, you don't remember things when you were a little kid as much as when you were an adult. You start to remember more, or young adult, really. But then not only memory is increasing, but lateralization or asymmetry is increasing, meaning there's a brain dominance, meaning left or right brain person. So if you ever heard about that, I've been studying that for the past few years. If the left brain is dominant, the child is more analytical, language oriented, analyzing and mathematical skills, versus if the person is more right brained, it is spatial orientation. They know where they are. They can detect rhythms and sounds and beauty, so they're more creative in their actions. So this is starting to happen more as you age. You're starting to get laterality. There's going to be a dominant side of the brain pattern. All right, so that's what's happening in high school brain development. But not only the brain in terms of capacity is developing and increasing, your emotional side is starting to take control, or let me rephrase that, to develop. Now, I told you, here's a picture of that process. If you look at a 5-year-old, fully green and red, and then as you move older and older, less green. So look at that third brain. You're starting to see penetration of blue. But the front of the brain right here is still green. It's still very green. So that third brain is adolescence. Third and fourth brain are in the midst of adolescence. Third brain is probably preteen, and the fourth brain is high school. Okay, so that fourth brain is where we are in high school. It's still green, a lot of places that are green. So the prefrontal cortex is the area of personality, decision-making, control. That is the area that takes the reign over your emotions. And even though you feel a certain way, you will inhibit your reaction based on your conscious, learned, educated mind. Now, a high schooler still has work to do. It's still immature. And because of that, they have lots of risky behaviors, right? They don't think things are a problem. They do things like speeding. They are easily susceptible to peer pressure in terms of drug use and alcohol use. Why? Because their prefrontal cortex is not as mature to say no. All right, to really analyze repercussions of these types of behaviors. Not only that, if childhood trauma has occurred previously, then the connections that should be happening lessen. So I told you earlier about how the frontal lobe will take control of the amygdala, which the amygdala, once more time, is about analyzing dangerous situations, understanding when you should be afraid, right? And what a frontal lobe will do is it will manage the amygdala to not make you feel afraid. So there's connections there. But if trauma happens, I was reading a primary literature. So what I'm doing right now is I read a lot of primary literature. Primary literature is basically journal articles from the sciences that are not necessarily published in books as yet. And I'm trying to make it a little more plainer for you, right? So a recent article came out talking about studying the frontal connections, the frontal lobe connections between the amygdala in urban youth in inner cities. And they were seeing that the connections are not there as much as somebody who did not grow up in a a traumatic environment. So when you think urban youth, you think violence, you think stressors that may not occur in people who may have a little bit more money. And they're starting to see that the amygdala is not communicating as well with the prefrontal cortex. Meaning, I feel afraid more, and my mind can't control my fear. My conscious mind can't control my fear, so I get anxiety and I get afraid. Rather, there's another part of the brain that connects with the amygdala more when this happens. So I have an instinctive fear all the time, and that inhibits learning. Also at this time in young people, I want you to understand that the adolescent period in high school is so crucial. I'm trying to get you to understand this, that I told you you're starting to get more white matter and less gray matter. So your gray matter is actually dying off. And if the gray matter starts to die off too much, then mental illness starts to come into play. I read an article where schizophrenia is starting to be seen. They're starting to notice that young people, you see schizophrenia really at a very young age. In the teenagers, when it usually comes on. And it's actually, we're thinking it's due to the excessive loss of gray matter that happens naturally in young people, right? But because it's, for some reason, genetics, environment, we don't know, we're losing too much brain, then we're having mental illness issues. So I'm telling you all of this to inform you that you must observe your kids. You must be aware. Talk. You have to observe your teenagers at this crucial time where things that are naturally happening to their brain could transition them to really bad behaviors, addictive behaviors, right? There's another paper that said that when you start taking alcohol, when you start binge drinking, which happens in adolescence, they start drinking because of peer pressure, that destroys gray matter. So you're already losing gray matter naturally, and then you're taking certain types of substances that destroys it more, right? That leads to mental illness. And you wonder why, many of our kids are having issues with mental illness, and our young adults are having issues with mental illness. A lot of it has to do with either childhood trauma or chemical inductions of mental illness. So watch your kid. Are they changing? Are they sleeping all the time? Who are their friends? It's important to guard your kids at this time. All right. So I can't say that enough. All right. So the next slide, I want to talk about, now we know how the brain works, right? We know how the emotional side of the brain works. We know how the brain is developing at this age. What should I do to get them prepared for STEM? Okay, what should I get them prepared for STEM? What you need to do is very simple. They have to prepare for college and high school. The goal of high school is to prepare for college in the cases of STEM, all right? Or some kind of training, some kind of certification that comes with IT. I'm not a proponent that you always have to go to college, but the training ground for STEM-oriented fields, which most of them require college, is actually high school. All right. Now, all of the other times I was developing your brain, right? Womb to pre-K, kindergarten to 5th grade. All of that is like developing the brain, getting the brain capacitated to do great things. High school now, it's time to be challenged. Really challenged. The fun times are over. So I have a picture of this woman here on the left side. She seems like she's having a good time, but she was no joke in high school, okay? She was very disciplined. She was my biology teacher. She's still alive, but she was my biology teacher. That's not me there. But she was very strict in regards to disciplinarian type of behavior in the classroom and she had a goal in mind. She had very high expectations for her students. And so if you want to be challenged, if you want to be in STEM, you have to challenge yourself really early. I took general biology, I took anatomy and physiology, and I took chemistry. I didn't take physics, but physics is another course that you must start taking early. Do not let people with low expectations deter you from that. So young people are going to face either teachers that are motivated to empower you to do well, or teachers that are going to tell you this is not for you. They're going to face coaches that are either going to emphasize learning first and then sports, or they're going to face, a lot of the times, coaches that will say, don't take physics because you need to have a 2-point-something GPA and you're not good enough for it. All right? Do not let people distract you from something that is more probable. There's more of a chance that you become an IT guy, a doctor, an engineer, than it is that you become a well-balanced, highly paid and retired football or basketball player. I'm not even talking about getting in. Even if you get in, 80 to 90% of our professional sportsmen are going bankrupt. And the reality is, within 5 years, many of these positions in football especially are abusive to the body. So a running back per se, their average time in the NFL is 5 to 7 years. So imagine you start football at 22 and you're out, right? 5 years later at 27. Think about that. Or 30 the most. Majority. And have you been trained mentally to take all the money that you have and last in a long period of time? Most people in their STEM fields are coming out at 27 and they're beginning their careers and making money after. So I want you to understand, don't let people distract you from areas in STEM that are so lucrative and highly probable that you can excel in it and retire well in it. Okay, so ignore Debbie Downers and take the challenging classes very early. It's very important that you take challenging classes very early. To that point, we're still in the concept of being prepared. All right. The goal of adolescence in high school, in my mind, in terms of preparing for a STEM career, is preparation for some kind of future in STEM now. And a lot of, as I said before, most degrees, engineering, mathematics, most sciences require a college education. Technology, you may be able to get, certifications, etc. But for the most part, STEM careers require college, and so you have to prepare for college now. So get into college prep programs from your high school time, like the summer of your sophomore and junior year. You should be looking for college prep programs. I went in my junior year to one. It was amazing. It really helped me. It guided me to my STEM career from high school. So college prep programs are very important. Don't lose out on the college experience from the high school level. So a lot of students take AP. They take advanced placement courses, and they think that they're doing themselves a service. And I'm not saying, this would fall under, in my opinion, challenging courses that happen early, freshman and sophomore year. These are not, in my opinion, for college credit. If you look at this basically flyer that I have up here, how many students actually lose out on college credit because they might take the class, but they don't have the pass rate that many colleges desire to bypass, the general coursework in college. So you may take advanced placement biology, but you're going to still have to come to the school of your choice and take general biology. They're not going to weight general biology unless you make a very high score on the advanced placement test after taking the class. Okay, so testing is important. And I told you before, anxiety that's happening heavily in young people kind of hinder the process of testing. So what you need to be doing in high school is learning to master calmness during a challenge. Calmness during a challenge. Okay? So when you are calm and you take exams, you're more likely to do well. When you are calm and you're in hard classes, you're still more likely to do well. That's why I told you before, in terms of urban youth, you know, I grew up in Jamaica, Queens. I know what it means to live as an urban youth. And we have certain stressors on our bodies, on our minds, that many don't have. And that process actually inhibits the learning process. So we got to do whatever it takes to calm our spirits during these learning environments or testing. Okay, because it's very important. If you don't do well on these tests, you're not going to get, you know, any type of credit in college. So how do you prepare for college as financially if you still have to take the class in college? Well, you write the essay. Okay? There are essays for college scholarships, tons of college scholarships for young people. In Florida, there's something called Bright Futures. You need to know about these things to have free tuition, and it happens early in high school. We're finding out that Bright Futures requires a certain type of level of GPA. It requires a certain type of coursework. You need to know that from your freshman year, what classes you have to take so that you will be able to get Bright Futures for college. You can't wait till senior year to find out, oh, I want to have money to go to college. I want to get Bright Future scholarship, and they're like, well, you didn't take such and such of a class. And our guidance counselors, unfortunately, many of them are not informing certain people. So you have to be, as a parent, an advocate for your children to find out what is the requirements in high school to prepare for college. All right, and you have your kids write essays for scholarships so that money doesn't go wasted. That most people don't get scholarships not because they not eligible, because they didn't want to apply. And the reason why they didn't want to apply because they didn't want to take the time to sit down and write the essay. So write the essay. Secondly, I told you before, I don't like AP that much because many students, they might take a class, but then they don't pass not that they don't pass the test, they don't make the grade or the score that certain colleges want to give college credit for. So do dual enrollment. Do dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is not taking a high school advanced placement course in high school, but rather taking the actual college course in high school. And once you get the grade in the college course, you don't have to take a standardized test to decide whether you're going to get credit for it. You've taken the course. You've gotten the A or the B in the actual college course. That's what I encourage. I encourage dual enrollment, not advanced placement. Not to say that advanced placement is not good, but if you're going to do advanced placement courses, take them earlier as the role of challenge rather than college credit. Take dual enrollment courses in college. All right? I hope that I'm reaching some of you. Oh, more people have joined. All right, I'm excited about that. Hopefully, if you haven't heard the whole video, go back and watch it again. Please share this. Please share this all over Facebook because I really need high schoolers to be prepared for college in high school. We're waiting too late. We're trying to be a doctor and a nurse in college. We come to college with the attitude of, okay, what do I need to be what do I need to do to be a doctor or a nurse? And you need to have that mindset from freshman year high school. High school. Okay? College prep happens in high school. High school. All right? How do you get dual enrollment? Here's an example of the school where I teach, all right? So I teach at Seminole State College. There you go. Go State. Right? This is where I teach. I love my institution. I have students in my biology course that are high school students. And many of the times they don't look like children that look like me. If you know what I mean. They don't look like me at all. They don't have my beautiful afro. They don't have that. They don't have the beautiful melanin in my skin. And they know about dual enrollment. And many of these students, many of the times, have finances, are going to college for free. They're getting their associates for free in high school. So when they come out of high school, they go to college only for 2 to 3 more years. They don't have to pay for college for 2 more years, versus many of us are paying for college 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, God help us, years. Why? Because they don't know about dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is a process of taking a course in college while you're in high school. Seminole State starts August 21. If you want your kid to be involved in dual enrollment, you need to go to the nearest community college, state college in your neighborhood and find out how you can work with your high school to get them enrolled in a dual enrollment course. Understand? Please. August 21st is where my classes begin. I don't really want to talk about it because I just got on vacation. But please get a jump on college in high school. Be challenged. Don't take no for an answer. You're not worthy for an answer. Many of these guidance counselors don't promote it in the school overall because they view only certain people worthy of dual enrollment. So you as a parent need to be an advocate for your children and find out what your school needs to do to get your kid enrolled for free. Remember, you're not paying for college in high school. I can't iterate this any more than I am doing. Okay, so thank you guys for listening. I'm gonna take some time for questions. Before I take questions, I want to make sure I have covered everything. Okay, I didn't cover it as much. One more time, there's increased connectivity in your brain in high school. I kind of covered it. The reason why you're taking challenging courses at this time is because there's a good amount of connection, focused connection between your frontal area and your areas of memory, your visual areas, all over the brain. You're really connected. And so you can remember things better. You can use logic to understand things much better in high school than you can in the previous years. So the more you then work at it, the greater the connections will be. So that when you challenge your brain, you increase the connections. Don't make anybody make you feel like your brain is not ready. You make your brain ready. And if you as a parent have been doing this to your child from pre-K, man, your kid is ready. Don't let anybody tell you your child is not ready. That's it. Any questions? I see a lot of joining, but I don't see a lot of questions. Let me see. Everybody join. No questions? High school is tough. I think a lot of parents that have high school kids let their kids be. And I think that's the greatest mistake. The greatest mistake is to let your kids be in their teenage years. You need to talk to them and find out what they need. And you need to guide them even at this age. Well, I don't see any questions. Okay. Lisa was like, I need to come to Jamaica Church. This is my former church in New York. I would love to buy the ticket and have a room ready for me. I'm there. Any other questions? I love my home church. Just to say this about my church, one of the best ways to keep calm and have a peaceful spirit is a religious faith. I think we don't really talk about faith in science, but my faith has literally calmed my spirit to handle the type of learning that I was experiencing in the sciences, from college to my master's degree to my Ph.D. I needed God to calm my spirit. So I love the role of faith. So I love talking to churches. So yeah, take it to the board. And I've done education days. I've done presentations in the evening. So I am willing to come home to New York to do something similar. I'm down. Any other questions? I'm glad that you thought it was informative, Lisa. Oh, well, okay. Well, guys, thanks for joining. Please share this video with your friends, with people that you know have kids in high school. I really think that this information is so crucial to get minorities especially prepared for the sciences at the college level. We can't wait for college. And I see this a lot. I've seen this with parents. They put it on the kid to do it. It's like, you need to register for college. You need to... I understand you're trying to give them responsibility. That's very important. But remember, I told you about their frontal lobe. It's still not ready. Still not ready. It's not ready till college, really. So we need you to be an advocate for your high schooler. Don't put it on them. Don't let them be. I'm not asking you to be a helicopter parent. That's not what I'm saying. But what I will tell you, many of the dual enrollments and the excelling students that I see in the college level are because their parents have been pushing them and guiding them. And they take the reins later. So thank you. Once more time, I don't like to go state.